All right, listeners, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we are tackling venison burgers. I'm so excited to share this recipe with you from Fork and Fry.
Venison burgers, huh? They're not your typical burger, are they?
Definitely not the usual backyard fare, but trust me, they are worth trying.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So what makes these burgers so special?
Well, for starters, venison is incredibly lean and flavorful.
Lean, yeah, I can see that. But cooking lean meat can be tricky, right? It tends to dry out easily.
That's true, but Fork and Fry has got us covered. They start with a tip that might surprise you.
Okay, hit me with it. What's the secret?
Chill the venison before you even think about mixing.
Chill it. Really, I usually just dive right in. Why the pre-chill?
Well, venison is already low in fat, as you mentioned, so chilling it actually helps to firm up the meat.
So it's like giving it a little structure boost.
Exactly. Makes it easier to work with and keeps those burgers from turning mushy when you start adding ingredients.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. All right, so chilled venison, check. What's next on our burger building adventure?
Now comes the secret weapon. And get this, it's pork fat.
Pork fat. Wait, are we adding fat to already lean meat? I'm a little confused.
I know it sounds counterintuitive, but trust the process. The pork fat is key to creating a juicy, flavorful burger.
Okay, I'm listening. What's the logic behind this?
Venison can be a bit, well, shall we say, reserved in the flavor department sometimes.
Reserved. That's one way to put it.
The pork fat, or you can even use beef fat if you prefer,
Uh-huh.
adds this incredible richness and juiciness that venison sometimes lacks.
So it's like a secret layer of flavor A&D moisture insurance.
You got it. Now, Fork and Fry doesn't stop there. They've got a whole lineup of flavor enhancers.
Lay it on me. I'm ready for this flavor party.
We've got balsamic vinegar, Worcestershire sauce, that ingredient that always adds a touch of mystery.
Oh, I love Worcestershire sauce. It's like a magic potion for flavor.
And then, of course, we have the classics, garlic powder, onion powder, salt, and pepper.
So they're basically building a flavor symphony in this burger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing there's a specific way to mix all of this goodness together, right?
You bet. The recipe really emphasizes gentle mixing. You don't want to overwork the meat.
So we're not going for a full-on arm workout here.
Nope. More like a gentle waltz with the ingredients.
Got it. Gentle waltz it is. So what happens once we've mixed everything just right?
Time to shape those patties. And Fork and Fry has a little trick up their sleeve for this step.
Okay, I'm always up for a good cooking trick. What is it?
They recommend making a small dimple in the center of each patty.
A dimple? Huh, I've seen that before, but I honestly thought it was just for looks.
It's actually pretty genius. The dimple helps the patty cook more evenly. You know how sometimes burgers can puff up in the middle?
Oh, yeah, and then you end up with a burger that's raw in the center. No thanks.
Exactly. The dimple prevents that by promoting even heat distribution.
So it's like a built-in insurance policy against burger disappointment. I like it.
Plus, the dimple also prevents the burger from shrinking too much as it cooks, so you end up with a nice, consistent shape every time.
Okay, I'm sold on the dimple. So now we've got our perfectly shaped dimple patties ready to go. What's next?
Now you have options. Grilling or pan frying, Fork and Fry, says both work great for these venison burgers. Let's talk grilling first.
Okay, fire up those grills. What's the plan?
They recommend a medium-high heat, around 350-400 degrees, and you'll want to cook the patties for about 5 to 6 minutes per side.
Sounds pretty straightforward. Anything I should keep in mind specifically for grilling venison?
Absolutely. Because venison is leaner, it cooks much faster than beef. Keep a close eye on those burgers and use a meat thermometer to make sure they reach an internal temperature of 160 degrees.
Good point. I've definitely learned the hard way that venison can go from perfectly pink to overcooked in a flash.
It happens to the best of us. Now, let's say you're more of a pan-fry kind of person. Fork and Fry has a delicious trick for that, too.
Okay, I love a good cooking trick, so lay it on me.
They recommend cooking the patties in a cast iron skillet with a little bit of bacon fat or lard.
Okay, you had me at bacon fat. That sounds amazing.
It really does add another layer of flavor to the burger, and since pan frying is quicker, you only need to cook the patties for about 4 to 5 minutes per side.
Got it. So no matter which cooking method I choose, I need to make sure that internal temperature hits 160 degrees.
Exactly. You want those burgers cooked through, but still juicy. And speaking of juicy, there's one last step that's absolutely crucial for achieving maximum burger bliss.
Okay, I'm all ears. What's this final piece of wisdom?
Patience. Let those burgers rest for a few minutes before you dig in.
Ah, the art of delayed gratification for maximum burger enjoyment.
Exactly. This allows the juices to redistribute throughout the patty, making for a much more flavorful bite.
So we're letting the flavors mingle and get to know each other before the big party in our mouths. I like that analogy. It seems like the key takeaway here is to treat venison with a gentle touch every step of the way.
That's a great way to put it. From chilling the meat to resisting the urge to manhandle those patties, a little TLC goes a long way with venison.
It really does make a difference, doesn't it? That resting period is like magic for burgers.
It is. All those juices settle down and distribute themselves so every bite is bursting with flavor.
And speaking of flavor, we can't forget about toppings.
Yes.
I mean, what's a burger without its supporting cast of deliciousness?
Right. Fork and Fry keeps it classic with lettuce, tomato, cheese, and pickles.
Yeah, the classics are classics for a reason, but I do love to get a little creative with my toppings too.
Oh, me too. What are some of your go-to burger toppings?
Let's see. Last time I made venison burgers, I caramelized some onions and added a crumble of blue cheese.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
It was. The sweetness of the onions with the tangy blue cheese and savory venison was a match made in burger heaven.
I bet. It's amazing how burgers can be such a blank canvas for culinary creativity.
I know. You can go spicy, fresh, cheesy, tangy. The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, there's a burger out there for every taste. But before we get too carried away with toppings, let's take a step back and appreciate all the wisdom we've learned from Fork and Fry today.
Absolutely. They've given us some amazing tips for crafting the perfect venison burger.
From chilling the meat, to adding pork fat, to the gentle mixing technique.
And of course, the all-important dimple. Plus, we can't forget about the resting period. Who knew patience could be so crucial for burger perfection?
Right. But here's what I find fascinating. This recipe is just the starting point.
What do you mean?
Well, we've been talking about the classic venison burger, but imagine all the variations we could create.
Ooh, yeah. We could take those core principles, the chilling, the fat, the gentle mixing, and apply them to all sorts of creative twists.
Exactly. It's like Fork and Fry has given us the keys to unlock a whole new world of burger possibilities.
My mind is already racing with ideas. What if we took inspiration from different cuisines? Like a southwestern burger with some chipotle peppers and pepper jack cheese.
Ooh, I love it. Or maybe a Mediterranean-inspired burger with feta cheese, olives, and a drizzle of tzatziki sauce.
Both of those sound incredible. Or what about Asian flavors? Maybe some ginger, soy sauce, and a spicy sriracha mayo.
Yes. And it's not just about flavors either. We could play around with different textures too.
Oh, I like where you're going with this. Like
Yeah.
adding crunchy toppings like toasted nuts or crispy onions.
Exactly. The possibilities are truly endless. It's so exciting to think about all the different directions we could go with this.
It is. And, we've been focusing on venison, but these techniques could be applied to other lean meats too, right?
Absolutely. Ground turkey, bison, any lean meat would benefit from this kind of TLC.
Yeah, it's all about understanding the characteristics of the meat and adjusting the recipe accordingly.
That's the real takeaway here. It's not just about following a recipe step by step. It's about understanding the why behind each step.
I love that. It's about becoming a more confident and adventurous cook, one delicious burger at a time.
Well said. This deep dive has been a real culinary revelation. I feel like we've uncovered a whole new level of burger appreciation thanks to Fork and Fry.
Me too. But before we wrap things up, I have one question for you. What's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from this deep dive?
That's a great question. I think the biggest takeaway is that venison is a lot more versatile than people might think.
That's true. It often gets overlooked, but it really can be incredibly delicious.
Yeah. And with a few simple techniques, you can transform it into a truly amazing burger.
And don't be afraid to experiment and have fun with it.
Exactly. Get creative with toppings, try different seasonings, make it your own.
I love that. It's all about making cooking a joyful and delicious experience. And who knows, maybe our listeners will even come up with some amazing venison burger creations of their own.
I hope so. I'd love to see what they come up with.
Me too. Speaking of inspiration, I have one last thought to leave our listeners with.
I'm all ears.
We've talked a lot about techniques and flavor combinations today, but the real magic of cooking, especially when it comes to something like a burger, happens when we share it with others.
Oh, I completely agree.
Think about it, gathering around the table with friends and family, sharing a meal, those are the moments that create lasting memories.
Absolutely. Food has this incredible ability to bring people together. And when you cook with intention, with a desire to nourish and delight the people you care about, you're creating something really special.
So true. And that's what I hope our listeners will do with this newfound knowledge about venison burgers. Go forth, experiment, create, and most importantly, share those culinary triumphs with the people they love.
What a beautiful thought, and what a perfect way to wrap up this deep dive.
I'm feeling inspired, I'm feeling hungry, and I'm definitely ready to get cooking.
Me too.
And to our wonderful listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this flavorful adventure. Until next time, happy cooking. It's amazing, isn't it? We started talking about chilling venison and making dimples and patties, and now we're talking about sharing meals and making memories.
It is pretty remarkable. I guess it shows that cooking, especially when you're trying something new, can really be about more than just the food itself.
Yeah, it can be a way to connect with people,
Okay.
Like with venison burgers, you're kind of introducing your friends and family to a whole new flavor.
Right. It's like opening up their culinary world a little bit.
Exactly. And it might even spark a conversation about, I don't know, sustainability or ethical eating.
That's a great point. I hadn't even thought of that. So, have you ever tried, like, a really out there topping on your venison burgers, something that people were hesitant about at first?
Hmm, that's a good question. I can't say I've gone too wild with my toppings, but I bet you have.
Well, one time I made this fig and balsamic jam from scratch and put that on top. It was a little risky, I'll admit.
Fig and balsamic jam. Wow. Okay, and how did it go over?
Surprisingly well. The sweetness of the figs, paired with the balsamic and the savory venison, it was a hit. People went back for seconds.
That's awesome. It just goes to show that sometimes the most unexpected combinations can be the best.
Absolutely. I think that's a good lesson for cooking in general. Don't be afraid to try new things.
Yeah, push those culinary boundaries. Well, I think it's time to send our listeners off into the world armed with their newfound venison burger wisdom.
Go forth and grill, everyone. Or pan fry, whichever you prefer. And don't forget to share your culinary creations with us.
Yes, we want to see those burger masterpieces. And remember, the most important ingredient is always the passion you bring to the kitchen.
So true. Happy cooking, everyone.
Happy cooking.